All right, so the part 2 is live. Okay, so we are gonna do the review of students' work from yesterday, and you guys can share your experience and learnings from this exercise. Fabio?
Hi, I think my microphone is working now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, this experiment was it's a project here in Brazil that I've worked for a while. So I was just trying to see how the project were, how the machine were interpreting these reflections, and if it going to be, I don't know, confused or something. But I was kind of surprised that it recognized the staircase with sort of precision. And I've searched about this Newcastle staircase spiral and these examples, and they were pretty accurate. I was kind of satisfied.
Mhm.
All right, this I was like experimenting this collab notebook for the very first time, and it's kind of fun. Like the machine starts learning and iterating, and in the first iterations, it looks like the machine doesn't know anything about it, but at some point, it starts to recognizing, oh, that's a house, that's a modernist style, that's a contemporary house, right? I don't know. It recognizes as Bali because that's a
Mhm.
Brazilian house, but maybe it has some relation with the Bali data set. I don't know. And I think there's a next one, a next image. And this was an experiment that I did like for the first Colab notebook, which we use it. And like there's the we can see the difference from the first 100 iterations from the 500 iterations. That's like at the first time she was recognizing as Vimeo, Autodesk, Minecraft, Garden. It was like related, I guess, a designed house, and at some point it started like to become more realistic what the machine was seeing, like a residential simulation, digital art, rendering. And I think that's much of the idea of what's going on in the image. And I have never tried this notebook, and it was a really nice experiment.
Mhm.
That's
And
it, I guess.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of cool though. Like even that image, that's kind of like, I guess this is style transfer, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it actually gets pretty like specific with it.
Yeah, it was the first time that appeared the
Yeah.
architecture. Apartments, maybe because of the windows, or I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I love how
some
it
people
throws Autodesk.
say like these machine learning models sometimes are like black black box models because we
Mhm.
can't understand much of what's how the machine gets to these results. And like other researchers say that they're not black box models because we can understand how they work. I'm not sure which approach I believe, but I know the machine's smart and can do pretty incredible things.
Yeah, mm, like my understanding is like because I have been like reading more about explainable AI, there's up to amount you can understand what's going on inside the model if you do like visualization of features, but it's challenging to do like complete prediction. Cool. It's also saying rendering and Minecraft. So it's,
Yeah, but I love how it throws Autodesk. Like, like that's very specific.
yeah. So it
Yeah, but it
knows
was
we have this software. Cool.
these were the first 100 iterations. Then it got better.
Yeah.
Oh, Bangalore. It's a city in India. Hmm. Cool.
Awesome.
Akshay.
Yeah, so this is something I experimented the previous day itself,
Mhm.
and I'd experiment on two other iteration. I'm just adding it right now. So can I go after the next person?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Let me exit so the slides are updated. Is Jennifer present?
No, I don't think she's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Harish,
Uh,
are you ready? Cool.
yes, I am. So
Cool.
what I did was I kind of came up with a few prompts that I could probably use for today.
Mhm.
So the first one is sinuous, fluidic, futuristic architecture, just to see what exactly it has to give if we give these. And then coming to the exact opposite, subtle architectural design with timber and earth. So I just wanted to see how it performs when we give like two contrasting uh, notions of design and architecture. And the third one is extraterrestrial settlements on Mars. So I just wanted to see what it is going to give. I mean, nothing. I mean, nothing else. So then, after going through the Reddit link that Ricardo had shared, I think I got like more ideas. Maybe I'll try out a lot more. So yeah, the next slide. This had mentioned earlier yesterday itself. It was able to gauge that it was an imperial building. I mean, it was giving the vibe of an imperial building, and then it just got on to the word terracotta, a hotel, a palace, something like that. So the next slide. Yeah, so this is the Wangjing Soho. So it was able to say Zaha in the first 100
Oh,
iterations
Dang.
itself. So that was a bit impressive. And then, although it is not in Shanghai, it was able to. It went on saying Shanghai, in like some 22 iterations between during the 300, 600, and all those. And then it was able to say about its form. It is curvy, dolome, curvy, oculus, all those, and then twins, bearings, buildings, etc. And then for some reason it said Ivanka. So it's just going weird there. Next. Yeah, so here for the Valencia one that I did, it went with the word Bilbao. So it went on to go around everything in Spain. It said Bilbao, it said Seville, and then it went to Valencia, and then it came to Mediterranean, Pavilion Mediterranean, and then it said Mediterranean, Bilbao, mesmerizing, futuristic. Although it had more captions saying Bilbao than Valencia. So it gauges that it is in Spain or something, but it didn't give that precisely. So yeah, the next one. Here, it did not gauge which building it is. It was saying it was an atrium, a monochromatic pattern in an atrium, stairway, escalator. It said somewhere stair escalatrium, like it's just concatenating words or something. Uh, and then and in the end it said Barbican Raider Atrium. So that's kind of weird. Yeah, so and then it went with patterns and things. So here again it gauged that it was the terracotta palace from previously. The first image also is the original image, and this is the style transferred image. And in the first 100th iterations it said machine learning transform. So
wow.
that was
Nice.
it kind of understood it or something. And then steep futurism collage, kaleido digital art, texture machine learning, and then in the last it says process deep learning terracotta triumph. So it's just putting together everything from the first instance of doing this, and then to this one it it just concatenated the terracotta and the deep learning to get this. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Milan?
I like how I
Yeah,
like how
sorry.
it's able. No, I was gonna say I like how it's able, like the way that the other one was kind of encode like outputting like things in Spain, like it's
Mhm.
kind of like geolocating it.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
I'm just wondering, like, it says Bilbao a lot. Does it imply like on the internet we have a lot of images and it's having biasness? Like it's
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
but how come Miami? Oh, okay, it's saying water, maybe aquarium, but hmm.
It is landmark architecture.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there are few things which Steve
Yeah.
futurism is interesting.
This one's kind of fascinating too. It says like machine learning, like deep learning.
Mhm.
So it's probably knows like you kind of like that's a modified image by deep learning, and that's I don't know. I find that kind of wild.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
Hi. In this image, I got the output that is somewhat related to the concept of the building, highlighting the words sustainable, greenery, futuristic, and an amazing ecosystem. Along with that, it was complemented with these cute little tree emojis, which I really liked. And but even then at the end of the iterations, it was somewhat able to identify the concept behind the construction of the building. And then to the next image. Yes, so to the left side, it's kind of like the Parliament building of Sri Lanka, but as it wasn't able to comprehend that it was that particular building. But then from the context of it, when we look at a first glance, it was able to like decipher from individual components of the image rather than putting it all together. So like you can see the waterfront nightlife because of this particular vibe we are getting of the image. And then it's also showing Shanghai in between because I think of this roof structure. And it's also giving another prompt like saying it's like a Walt Disney World casino. I don't know but where it's coming from, but then it was like a very cool prompt. And to the next one, this is one of the residential complexes under Louis Khan. And then in this particular image, the output was somewhat a bit relating because it was able to identify the material concrete. Then it was able to identify it was like a housing unit. Then it also gave the output as there was like, it was able to detect there was a courtyard here. And the word integration is also given from this image because of the connected housing units. And then to the end of the iteration, it also gave out the word Assad architects, but I don't know how it's correlated to it. But then, yeah. And the next one, could you refresh this
Yeah,
slide? I just,
yeah.
thank you. So it's one of these Hadid buildings. And yeah, I was like able to happily see that the word Hadid is able to detect it and also the optical fluid shape. And also it was also able to recognize that it's one of the famous landmark buildings there. And to the end, it kind of like it kind of went a bit off, saying some Bapu something, but even then, it was able to identify Zaha Hadid. I was more than happy. And then the next image, I wanted to test the clip out. So I went back a bit before time, like one of the famous accomplishments that we have ever achieved as for a human, that is the Apollo 11 mission. So yes, it was able to identify, it was the Apollo mission, it's one of the famous images. And it was also able to identify the rocket launch, the also along with that, it also identified the machine from which the spaceship is launching. So yeah, and the next image. So I wanted to try whether if it is able to identify an animation or like a fantasy kind of an image. So I went with the Hogwarts, and yes, it was able to identify it was the Hogwarts, and more than that, it was able to identify this was a VFX creation, because to the end the word VFX has
Oh, wow.
also come along with it. And then yeah, and since I think it is a fascination, and what we say, fascination kind of an image, when we came to the waterfront context, it's an Atlantis for describing the water. And then I also wanted to try a bit of art into it, so I went with the Starry Nights. And yeah, it was able to identify the creator of this image and also a few subtle contexts relating to each elements of the image. And to the next one, yeah, so next one, I wanted to check if it was able to identify its own brothers or sisters. So I typed in Google the key prompts, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then I inserted this image into it. And the thing I was surprised was it kind of like, I don't know if it's true or not, but then I think to identify the mathematical equations, and then it gave out a prompt saying algorithm, mathematical, something to spaceships or spacecraft. So I don't know if this is true, but it was kind of fascinating to see that it also tried to decipher a part of the mathematical equation that was given on that image. Even though it could identify the, like it could also identify the robot, and also it's kind of said some name called system malmat. I don't know, but it was kind of cool. It could decipher the mathematical equation. And then next I wanted to check if it was able to, Clip was able to decipher an illustration sort of an image. So yeah, it was like it's just kind of like a perfect image of Albert Einstein. So yeah, it gave out, like it was able to identify that it is an illustration first of all. So that was a really a good point. And also there were other key prompts related to Einstein, like he's a genius, then he's like a mastermind. So yeah, that was a good output. And to the next one,
It also
I
has
think
like
this is the,
Illustrator and vector graphics, which is
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say that's interesting too, because it
Yeah,
like
that's
tells you like how it was made.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the last
awesome.
one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. I think like one thing which to keep in mind from this lessons is like the reason we had this exercise, because today you will be giving prompt, and like few of like after a lot of experimentation of like people using clip plus VQGAN, they found that having like prompts like Unreal Engine rendered or like VFX give pretty much realistic image. And you can see how, because like the machine is like already trained and knows this. And you gave an input of like Louis Khan's image and like Zaha's. So even when I was experimenting with Zaha, it understands Zaha's style pretty well and with all the buildings. So that's why if you want like pretty and a particular architect style for your building, like Zaha is a good one to start with because the machine knows it pretty well. Awesome. Sila, are you ready? Or...
Yeah, I'm ready. I just want to try the earlier images produced in day one, and I tried to produce titles for them, and there are really weird words like breastfeeding for this photo. But I really like the psychedelic keyword in here, and it actually sends a deep learning approach also.
Mhm.
For this one, it's a mirage, and I really like this words. And if I try to title them, I never use and select the word mirage, but that's really nice in here.
Yeah, I just realized when you said title, maybe for our architectural renderings and for our project, we could take inspiration of title from this model.
Yeah, they're really inspiring. That's why I call them title. And I really like the sci-fi temple abstraction in here.
Interesting.
Um,
Says futurism.
yeah, it says like
That's
that.
pretty cool.
And this one is quite interesting because it uses some words related with neuroscience and cellular science, like mitochondria and something like this. And it interestingly says Zionism in here. Some kinds of words are really interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering why it's associated with that domain.
So like it thinks it's like a painting, but it also thinks it's something related to like some sort of neural. That's kind of
yeah. It's a painting from Matisse. So I guess it knows that, and that's why it's produced like painting.
Yeah, for when I'm seeing this part, like somehow kind of gives like a neuron and dendrite, like some no type. But it's interesting. Like we on first glance won't say like okay anything related to neuroscience or something, but now after that prompt, if we think deeply, there might be few abstractions.
Yeah. These words are really related and similar, and I really like this this generated image because Aravena also use the information comes from slums in this project. So seeing the idea in the image, in the generated image and generated titles are really inspiring too.
Yeah, it's quite impressive for this. Disaster density collage. Ooh.
Like that one says capitalism and slum density.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang.
That's deep.
Why capitalism?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, these are kind of fascinating. Like it's just very like it's either like connecting to things or like very specific, right? And like you wouldn't at least like I don't think I would ever like sort of be able to put these like that together. So that's what makes it fun.
Dude, it's billion parameters collective intelligence.
Yeah. All of the internet. Amazing.
And it also says kaleidoscope like thing. And also it was a nice word too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
This one is mostly focused on the textural quality of the produced image.
It says pyramids.
Yeah. It says pyramids.
Yeah, but to be honest, like for other exploration, we saw it's pretty good at identifying textures. So when you're giving prompt, you can be more specific for like if for facade or interior materials, and because it's able to identify it well, it will be able to generate good images.
Yeah. And this was the last one, and it really focused on the word spike.
Why it's calling futuristic spikes?
Yeah.
I like where it says like spike stitching abstracts.
It has some spiky and
Yeah.
some abstract characters. So. Interesting. Yeah, great job. There are some interesting outputs.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Akshay, are you ready or?
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we could
So
discuss this one, right?
yeah, there are two things which I already discussed, and I think you can go to the next one. Yeah, so this is something that I'd read about earlier before the workshop, something about big sleep and deep days. So this is one of the sample pictures that I took off from the deep days README. So I was really curious as to see what the computer would decipher from this. So it tells me that it's a psychedelic video dream backyard, and it has a grunge theme, altered dreams, thermal visual, and yeah, it caught onto the word psychedelic and thermal. So that's really neat. So I was just experimenting with this. I think on my next one, this is something that I had produced using Big Sleep. So I'd given the caption a coral museum designed by Zaha Hadid. And these are the kind of outputs that it had given me: super yacht, virtual sculpture, and fragments printing Thunderbirds Guggenheim. But the Guggenheim part, it kind of made sense. Probably if I'd given a couple more iterations, it would have caught on to this. So I was really curious to see what it would learn from something that was already dreamed up using AI.
Yeah, it also says space. Yeah, spaceship simulation. That's cool. Yeah. All right, Jennifer, we discussed this. All right, so I think the takeaways from this is we saw the different type of prompts it generates. There were a few cases where it was able to identify the texture, the building type, the architect pretty well. So we kind of get some idea that what kind of prompts will work better. And yeah, so cool. So we can end this part of the session. Should we do like a